A big outnumbered happy 4th of July to you. I'm Harris Faulkner, here today, co-host of After the Bell on Fox Business, Melissa Francis, Town Hall editor and Fox News contributor, Katie Pavlich, former deputy spokesperson for the State Department and Fox News analyst and host of Benson and Harf, Marie Harf is here. And in the center seat, editor-in-chief of the Daily Caller News Foundation, Christopher Bedford, is outnumbered, so we say happy 4th.
Happy 4th.
All right. We got some flag up here and our, of course, signature color for outnumbered.
Right.
Did you polish your nails the colors of outnumbered?
I didn't, but it works for that.
It does. I mean, look at that.
They matches perfectly.
Yeah, that's just like our logo. Oh, no, they're on you. Hold your, yeah, well.
The answer was yes.
Yeah.
They were really for Pride Month, but they also work for Outnumbered.
They do.
There you go.
They do.
So
And
Melissa's got her Pride bracelet
Yeah,
on.
there you go.
Very nice. And you're getting married soon. We better get the most out of you if we can.
I'll be done. I brought my American Pride socks.
Nice.
Of course you did. President Trump is ramping up his campaign efforts for GOP candidates. He's been talking them up at rallies across the nation recently, and it looks like it's paying off. Primary voters choosing incumbent Governor Henry McMaster in the South Carolina GOP primary runoff after the president rallied for him days after attending a rally for Senator Dean Heller in Nevada. Watch.
With Henry is you don't even know it. He does it in a very elegant manner. So I want to thank Dean Heller, who's been an incredible senator, worked so hard with us to get the taxes cut.
Meanwhile, a Gallup poll shows Republicans' approval of the president during the first 2 weeks of June at 90%, the highest since the week of his State of the Union address. The polling was done before the recent immigration controversy. The New York Times points out in a recent piece, quote, this era of tumult has left Democrats energized and determined to win back Congress and act as a check on Mr. Trump. And their intensity has been reflected by strong turnouts in the primary so far. But still, in just the last year and a half, Mr. Trump has bounced back from crises that at the time seemed as if they might be too severe for him to recover politically, end quote. I might want to encourage them to call him President Trump every now and then, but hey,
Every now
it's
and
just
then.
me. Chris?
You know, I think a lot of this actually might be driven by his enemies, the Never Trumpers and the hashtag resistance folks, who are the more energized sometimes they get, even with this immigration fight, if they turn that energy into mobbing people in public or threatening a new bombing campaign like in the 70s, as one magazine just recently did. That's the kind of thing that really turns a lot of Americans off. And this is a country that throughout history has not actually been too far from political violence and has had a lot of periods of political violence.
You mean like the congressional baseball game
Just
last
a year ago.
year?
Just a year.
And the Gabby Gifford shooting.
The Gabby Gifford shooting, although that wasn't political, that was just crazy.
Yeah, there wasn't really any political connections in
No,
that
I
case.
said the congressional baseball game because I meant it, because that was, as we know, political, and it was so short, in time ago.
Right.
You'd think that a big tragic event would make Americans who are against Trump kind of calm down the rhetoric, at least for more than 2 or 3 weeks. But after that congressional baseball shooting, things only calmed down for about a month. It seemed to be a little normal, and now everything's ratcheted right back up. And I think that's one of the things that drives the president's approval rating to be higher than any other Republican except for Bush after 9/11.
See, I think it has to do more with results. I mean, I think we all get caught up in the rhetoric and the back and forth because it's our job and we do it every day. But for regular people, they don't have the time. They're out there trying to get their kids to school and get food on the table and pay their mortgage. And they've seen results. They've seen lower taxes. They've seen the economy expand. They've seen promises kept. They've seen movement in North Korea. And there are what I call Trump deniers. I'm going to trademark that. And these are people who they look at the results and they just deny the existence of any positive outcome that's related to President Trump because they hate him so much because of his rhetoric or because of what he says. And so they just deny he could bring somebody back to life giving them CPR and they would say, no, that person's still dead. Sorry. Even as they stood up and walked away. They're Trump deniers.
To get this back, though, to the point of where Democrats are after that stunning loss last night, stunning, by a young woman who barely was funded, 28 years old. She was not on anybody's radar necessarily outside the state in which she won. And a Democrat who we've had on Outnumbered Overtime many times, he's been around forever. He thought he was going to be on the next House Speaker for the Democrats should they take back Joe Crowley. What happened?
I wanted him to be the next speaker. Well, before I get to Joe Crowley-Harris, what's interesting from that Gallup poll you mentioned is the president's numbers among independents is about 38%. So his Republican numbers are very high, but you can't win elections just with the base. So
but
I
that's
think
not just the base.
No, but it's Republicans.
I mean, 90% of Republicans goes beyond
But the
his
independent
base.
numbers are still pretty low. We will be watching that number as we get closer to the midterms. When it comes to Joe Crowley, I think what you see is a fight between generations of Democrats. I really like Joe Crowley. I wanted him to be the next speaker, but he took his district for granted. He didn't show up to 2 debates with her. I think this is actually something like happened to Eric Cantor, where sometimes when you're looking at national ambitions, you forget about the race you have to win right in front of you. And after Eric Cantor lost in 2014, the Republicans went on that fall to have a great showing. So this is really indicative of Joe Crowley running a bad campaign and his district being very far to the left.
So the reason that I bring that up, though, is when you talk about the Never Trumpers, the anti-Trump movement, whatever, there's also a movement apparently within the Democrat Party, Katie, that we're seeing that, you know, they're split not on a message of whether they're against the president, but whether they should focus on being against the president. What are their real priorities?
Well, yeah, that's a big question about how much the resistance is actually helping people on the ground. We had this young woman in Queens upset the Democrat establishment. We've seen the party go to the left, and when you look at her platform, it was based on local needs and the community that she believes she is serving. It's not going to work, you know, free Medicare for all, free housing, the things that she was offering are not going to work for every single congressman across the board. And it's certainly not going to work for the Democratic Party across the board, especially when you're trying to regain voters that went for Trump in 2016 that voted for Barack Obama. But I want to get back to the approval ratings for President Trump. The 90% Republican number is higher than it was on Election Day. He was only at 83% Republican support when he won in November, and that was pretty high. So he's gained support among Republicans for a couple of reasons. The first is I think they're getting to know his style a little bit. There's still some people who are a little bit off-put about the attitude and the way that sometimes he handles things, but they also understand how he operates now. The other is that he is getting results. It's a matter of, you know, packing the judiciary with conservative judges, deregulation. Businesses across the country now are able to breathe and hire. And of course, the economy is better than it's been in generations, which automatically means that Republicans are going to be happy with him. And independents, maybe when it comes to Election Day, maybe that approval rating isn't so high right now. But as we've seen, after Labor Day is when we really start seeing people pay attention to what's going on and how individual candidates are going to affect their lives at home at the kitchen table.